Welcome. Today, we're going to get our heads around a huge topic, environments. We're going to break down how they work, why they're so incredibly important, and how you and I are connected to places that might be thousands of miles away. So, let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive in by starting with the real building blocks of it all. You see, every environment, whether it's a tiny pond or a massive desert, is built on this really complex, interconnected system. The best way to think of it? It's like a giant, invisible web.
So, to get our brains warmed up, here's a little riddle for you. What on earth could a super slow-moving sloth, a mushroom growing on an old log, and a massive floating lily pad possibly have in common? They seem totally random, right? Well, the answer is actually the key to understanding everything about environments.
And the answer is, they're all connected. Every single one plays a critical role in the exact same system. A system where every part needs the others to survive. To really get this, we need to look at the three essential jobs that exist in any food web. It all kicks off with the producers. Think of these guys as the power stations of an ecosystem. They're the green plants, like our giant lily pad, that actually make their own food from sunlight through a process called photosynthesis. They are the absolute foundation of all life.
Next up, you've got the consumers, and this is where our sloth friend comes into the picture. Consumers can't make their own food, so they have to get their energy by eating other living things. Some eat plants, others eat animals, and some, well, they eat both.
And finally, wrapping it all up, we have the decomposers. These are the cleanup crew of the natural world. Think of things like fungi and worms. They break down all the dead plants and animals, returning vital nutrients back into the soil so the producers can use them all over again. They literally complete the circle of life.
So the biggest, most important word to take away from all this is interdependent. It's a simple idea, but it's so powerful. Everything relies on everything else. Take away the producers, and the consumers have nothing to eat. Take away the decomposers, and the whole system would just grind to a halt, starved of nutrients.
All right, now that we've got the basic rules down, let's go and see this amazing web of life in action in one of the most vibrant, most complex environments on the entire planet, the tropical rainforest.
Let's just imagine we're standing right on the forest floor in what's called the shrub layer. It's pretty dark and damp down here. Now, if we look up, we'll see the under canopy. It's this tangled layer of smaller trees. And above that, that's the main event, the canopy. It's like a dense, green roof that blocks out most of the sun. And then, bursting right through the top, you have the emergence. These are giant trees that tower over everything else.
And what's so cool is that each of these layers is its own little world, just packed with an unbelievable variety of life. From super clever plants like strangler figs to amazing animals like the jaguar. And, of course, the sloth we met earlier. This place is absolutely teeming with life.
But here's the thing. When you have so much life crammed into one place, it gets competitive, really competitive. To make it here, everything has to be highly specialized. In other words, every single living thing must adapt.
So what does that actually mean, to adapt? Well, for plants, it might mean growing huge leaves to catch just a little bit of sunlight on the dark forest floor, or having special drip tips to let all that heavy rain slide off. For animals, it could be developing camouflage to hide or sharp claws to climb trees. Every single feature is a clever solution to a survival problem.
But this incredibly balanced, ancient world is now facing its biggest challenge ever. This delicate web of interdependence, well, it's being threatened by human actions. The number one threat has a name we all know: deforestation. And we're not just talking about cutting down a few trees. This is the clearing of entire forests on a massive, massive scale.
So why is this happening? Well, it's all driven by demand from around the world. Huge areas are cleared for cattle ranching or to grow things like palm oil and soy. Other parts of the forest are logged for valuable wood, the ground is torn up for mining, and new roads are built that cut right through the heart of the ecosystem. Even massive hydroelectric dams can end up flooding entire valleys.
And the effects of all this? They're devastating. Without tree roots holding everything together, the precious soil just washes away, which leads to huge erosion and flooding. Habitats are destroyed, which causes a tragic loss of biodiversity, species going extinct forever. That whole nutrient cycle we talked about? It gets broken. And, on a global scale, all of this is a major driver of climate change.
Now you might be thinking, okay, but this is all happening thousands of miles away. How does that really affect me? Well, this is where we need to zoom out and see the really big picture. The simple truth is, what happens in the rainforest definitely doesn't stay in the rainforest. You know, these forests are often called the lungs of the planet for a reason. They soak up enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, so when those trees are burned or cut down, all of that stored carbon gets released back into the atmosphere, warming up our entire planet.
So, what can we do? Is there a solution? Well, one idea that's out there is fair trade. The whole point is to make sure farmers get a fair price for their products, like coffee or bananas. On the plus side, it can help reduce poverty and give people a decent living, which is a great alternative to just clearing more forest. On the downside, it's not a perfect fix. Fair trade products can cost a bit more, and it only covers a limited number of goods.
But what it does prove is a really powerful point. The choices we make, as shoppers, right here in our local supermarket, can actually send ripples across the world and have a real positive impact on people and environments that are thousands of miles away.
And that brings us full circle. We started by looking at how interdependent life is in one little ecosystem. But now we can see that we are all part of a much, much bigger global web. So I'll leave you with this to think about. If one part of that huge global web of life is damaged, how does it eventually affect us all?